Have you ever trusted a vitamin because it came in a shiny bottle, said heart health on the label, and was recommended by someone in a white coat? You're not alone. Millions of older adults are doing the exact same thing every morning blindly. Swallowing what they believe is a simple health boost. But behind that healthy habit lies a silent danger that could be slowly building up inside your veins. And one day, it might strike when you least expect it. What I'm about to share isn't just another nutrition tip. This is a hidden risk that's been ignored for years. It's the story of how two vitamins, yes, two essential nutrients, can work together to trigger one of the most deadly conditions facing seniors today: dangerous blood clots. If you're over 65, listen closely. Blood clots are no joke. They're often silent, forming deep in your legs, your lungs, or your brain without pain, without symptoms, without warning. And in many cases, the first sign that something's wrong is death. Doctors call it a pulmonary embolism, a stroke, a sudden cardiac arrest. But what most people never hear is the backstory. How did that clot form? What caused it? And more importantly, could it have been prevented? Let's rewind. Walk into any pharmacy and you'll see shelves lined with supplements for seniors. Vitamin D, calcium, multivitamins, omega-3 South. The packaging looks friendly. The promises sound reassuring. Supports strong bones. Promotes heart health. Boosts immunity. But buried beneath those claims is a dangerous truth. When vitamin D and calcium are taken together without proper balance, they can overload your bloodstream with calcium, and that calcium doesn't always go to your bones. Sometimes it sticks to the walls of your arteries. Sometimes it collects in your blood vessels, and sometimes it forms clots. You see, vitamin D's job is to help your body absorb calcium. That's good if your bones are ready to receive it. But if they're not, if you're lacking other key nutrients like magnesium or vitamin K2, that calcium gets misdirected. It floats freely in your blood. It finds its way into soft tissues. It builds up layer by layer, silently turning your arteries stiff and brittle, until one day it closes the path. A clot forms, and it's too late to undo it. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's been studied in medical journals. In one large review published in the British Medical Journal, researchers found that seniors who took calcium supplements without balancing nutrients had a significantly higher risk of heart attack and stroke. Even worse, when calcium was combined with high-dose vitamin D, the risk of developing vascular calcification nearly doubled. But here's the catch. The danger isn't in the vitamins themselves. It's in the imbalance, the dosage, the form, the missing pieces that were never explained to you when that bottle was handed over the counter. Let me ask you something personal, Dot. Do you know how much vitamin D you take per day? Do you know if it's D2 or D3? Do you know how much calcium your diet provides naturally and how much you're adding on top with supplements? Most people don't. They assume more is better. I'm getting older, so I should take more calcium to protect my bones. Or, I stay indoors, so I need more vitamin D for my immune system. And while those thoughts make sense on the surface, what happens inside your body is far more complex. It's not just about taking vitamins, it's about how your body uses them, and whether the supporting nutrients are there to help them do their job safely. This is where the role of vitamin K2 becomes so critical and so tragically overlooked. Vitamin K2's job is to act like a traffic cop for calcium. It tells calcium where to go, into your bones and teeth, not into your arteries or kidneys. Without enough K2, all the calcium you absorb from food or supplements becomes a free agent. It travels unchecked and can easily deposit in places it shouldn't, contributing to hardening of the arteries, kidney stones, and yes, blood clots. And what about magnesium? Magnesium helps regulate how vitamin D is activated and how calcium is distributed. Yet more than 50% of adults over 60 are deficient in magnesium, and they don't even know it. Low magnesium levels mean vitamin D can't function properly. Calcium isn't metabolized efficiently, and inflammation begins to rise. All of which sets the stage for blood thickening, plaque buildup, and circulatory damage. Here's a common story I hear from patients. I started taking calcium because my doctor said my bones were thinning. Then I added vitamin D because I wasn't getting enough sun. A few months later, I started feeling tightness in my chest, weird leg cramps, and my blood pressure shot up. I thought it was just aging, until I ended up in the E with a blood clot in my lung. Stories like this aren't rare. They're becoming more common. And the worst part? Many of these patients never realize the cause. They continue taking the same supplements after their hospital stay, unaware that the very pills they thought were helping may have been quietly hurting them all along. But it doesn't stop there. The supplement industry is poorly regulated. Not all vitamin D or calcium products are created equal. Some use synthetic or poorly absorbed forms. Others include unnecessary fillers, binders, or doses far higher than what seniors actually need. And still others combine calcium with vitamin D in ratios that completely ignore the role of K2 or magnesium, creating a dangerous mix that looks healthy on the label, but wreaks havoc inside your body. So what should you do? First, stop assuming that all supplements are safe just because they're over the counter. Ask your doctor to check your vitamin D levels before supplementing. Get a full panel that includes calcium, magnesium, and ideally, markers of inflammation, like CRP and HOMOCYSTEINE.2. Never take calcium without balancing it with K2 and magnesium. If your diet is rich in leafy greens, fermented foods, and nuts, you may already be getting some of these nutrients naturally. But if not, speak with a qualified professional about how to correct the imbalance safely. Third, and perhaps most important, listen to your body. If you've been taking calcium or vitamin D and notice new symptoms like chest tightness, leg pain, unexplained fatigue, headaches, or shortness of breath, don't ignore it. These could be early signs of vascular stress or clot formation. Bottom line, you were never told the full story. You were handed a bottle, given a promise, and left to guess the rest. But now you know better. You know that when it comes to your health, especially over 65, everything you put in your body matters. Even something as harmless as a vitamin. And in the next part of this video, we're going even deeper. I'll show you how to read labels the right way, what red flags to look for in your supplements, and which foods naturally protect your arteries from clotting without risking dangerous side effects. So stay with me. Your health, your life, could depend on what comes next. Now that you know about the hidden dangers of combining vitamin D and calcium improperly, let's go one step further, because the problem goes beyond just 2 pills. This isn't about fear. It's about clarity. It's about reclaiming control over your health after 65, when every small decision has a bigger impact than ever before. Let's talk about the reality of supplement use in older adults. A recent national survey found that nearly 70% of people over 65 take at least 1 supplement daily, and more than 30% take 4 or more. That sounds like a proactive choice, but when was the last time you audited what you're taking? Checked the doses? Compared the interactions? We've been sold the idea that taking supplements is harmless, that more vitamins equals more protection, that natural means safe. But as we've seen, the truth is far more complex. The human body is a delicate web of systems, cardiovascular, neurological, musculoskeletal, all of them intertwined. And when we dump nutrients into that system without understanding their effect, we risk tipping the entire balance. Take, for example, the war between vitamin D and vitamin K2. Most seniors are told to take vitamin D for immune health, bone strength, and mood regulation. And that's fine in the right context. But few are told that without vitamin K2, the calcium absorbed by vitamin D will almost certainly be misdirected. So what happens? You take your vitamin D, you take your calcium. You feel like you're doing the right thing. But without K2 guiding that calcium to your bones, it begins to calcify your arteries. It hardens your vessel walls, narrowing the space for blood to flow. And as that space closes, the pressure builds. The blood thickens, and eventually, it clots. Some call it a coincidence. Others, a normal part of aging. But now you know better. It's not always aging. Sometimes it's accumulation. One of the most eye-opening case studies I've seen involved a 72-year-old woman who had no previous cardiovascular disease. She exercised regularly, ate well, and took her supplements religiously: vitamin D, calcium, and a multivitamin. But after a few years, she began feeling dizzy, short of breath, and fatigued. Her doctors couldn't figure out the cause until they ordered a CT scan. What they found shocked everyone: extensive calcification in her coronary arteries, despite her healthy lifestyle. The culprit? A long-term imbalance between vitamin D and calcium, without vitamin K2 or magnesium. To offset the effects, stories like this are becoming more common, yet they remain largely unspoken. Why? Because no one wants to believe that something sold in a health aisle could be dangerous. We want to trust the labels, the commercials, the recommendations. But the science doesn't lie. Let's go deeper into why this happens biologically so. You're not just taking my word for it, but actually understanding the mechanism. When vitamin D increases calcium absorption, that calcium enters your bloodstream. Without K2, it has no specific direction. It starts to float, sticking to the inner lining of arteries, what doctors call the endothelium. Over time, these calcium deposits become plaque, making your vessels more rigid. The more rigid the arteries, the less they can expand. And the less they expand, the higher your blood pressure becomes. Eventually, the blood no longer flows smoothly. It begins to pool in certain areas, especially in the legs or lungs. That's when a clot forms, when blood becomes stagnant, slow, or overly thick, and once a clot forms, it can travel to your lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism, to your brain, causing a stroke, or to your heart, causing an infarction. And remember, none of this happens with pain. None of this gives you a warning bell. The only sign something is wrong might be a small cramp, a random headache, or a moment of confusion, and then suddenly, it's an emergency. Let's pause here and be honest with ourselves. When was the last time you told your doctor every supplement you take? When was the last time they asked? Most primary care visits for seniors are rushed. You're lucky to get 10 minutes of FaceTime. And unless you bring up your supplement list, it's never reviewed. But here's what you need to know. If you're taking more than 1,000 milligrams of calcium per day and more than 2,000 IU of vitamin D, without the guidance of a physician, you may already be over the safety threshold, especially if you're not getting enough K2 and magnesium. So let's talk about symptoms. What are the early signs that your body might be forming clots or suffering from calcification? Leg cramps or unexplained pain in your calves, especially at rest, shortness of breath, even with mild exertion, sudden fatigue or weakness, not linked to activity, swelling in one leg, ankle, or foot, chest pressure or tightness, especially. After taking supplements, confusion, blurred vision, or temporary loss of balance. Each of these can have multiple causes, but in the context of high-dose supplements, They become red flags, signals that something beneath the surface is shifting. Now, I want to shift gears and give you some practical power, because knowledge without action is useless. Let's say you've been taking calcium and vitamin D. You've just realized you've been doing it without K2 or magnesium. What do? First, don't panic. The body is incredibly resilient. Arterial calcification can sometimes be slowed or even partially reversed through diet, movement, and correct supplementation. Second, get your levels checked. A blood test for vitamin D, 25-hydroxy, is standard. But ask for ionized calcium, magnesium RBC, and ideally PIVKA2, which reflects vitamin K status. Most doctors won't order these unless you ask. Third, switch to whole food sources of these nutrients whenever possible. Calcium from dark leafy greens, broccoli, sardines with bones, or chia seeds is safer than from pills. Vitamin D from sunlight, just 15 minutes a day, or cod liver oil is more natural and less likely to cause overdose. And K2? That comes from fermented foods like natto, hard cheeses, or pasture-raised eggs. Fourth, move your body daily. Even light. Walking stimulates blood flow and reduces clot risk. Stretch your legs. Elevate your feet. Stay hydrated. These aren't just basic tips. They are powerful, preventative actions. And finally, read your labels. Look for vitamin D3 instead of D2. Avoid calcium carbonate. Prefer calcium citrate or plant-based calcium if needed. And if you're taking D or calcium, always consider pairing with K2MK7, a form that's been shown in studies to reduce arterial stiffness. You don't need to fear supplements. You just need to respect their power. We've been conditioned to treat them like candy pop a few in the morning and forget about it. But every capsule is a chemical. Every nutrient changes something inside you. And for seniors, whose bodies are already dealing with slower metabolism, thinner blood vessels, and fluctuating hormones, the effects are magnified. In our next and final segment, I'm going to walk you through the exact checklist to protect your circulation after 65. I'll share the foods that naturally thin your blood, the warning signs of overdose, and how to safely build a supplement routine that supports your joints, bones, and heart without risking your life. You've already taken the first step by learning the truth. Now, let's go one step further and reclaim your health with confidence. So now you know the truth. The very vitamins you were told to trust, calcium and vitamin D, can turn into a silent threat if they're not managed correctly. But let's not end this story in fear. Let's end it with power. Because while the risks are real, so are the solutions. And when you're armed with the right knowledge, you can take back control over your health without throwing away every bottle in your cabinet. Let's start with something simple: your daily checklist. If you're over 65, here's what you should ask yourself every morning before you take any supplement. Am I taking more than 1,000 milligrams of calcium per day from pills? Am I also taking vitamin D? And if so, do I know the dosage? Am I including vitamin K2, specifically MK7, to guide that calcium? Am I getting enough magnesium, either from food or a quality supplement? And perhaps most importantly, am I doing this out of habit or because my body truly needs it? You see, supplements aren't bad. Calcium isn't evil. Vitamin D isn't a poison. They're just tools that can heal or harm, depending on how they're used. The key is in the balance, the timing, and the context. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Harold, 72 years old, retired firefighter, healthy as an ox for most of his life. But a few years after retirement, he began to worry about his bones. He'd seen friends fall and break hips, and he didn't want to end up in a wheelchair. So he went to the pharmacy, bought a calcium supplement with added vitamin D, and started taking it every day. 2 pills, like clockwork. For a while, things felt fine. But after a year, he started feeling pressure in his chest during walks. His legs cramped more often. He felt lightheaded standing up. Then one night, he woke up gasping for air, rushed to the hospital, and was diagnosed with a pulmonary embolism. A massive blood clot had formed in his lungs. He survived, thankfully. But when his doctors reviewed his labs and his supplements, the truth was clear. He was overdosing his body with calcium, pushing it into his bloodstream without the nutrients needed to direct it safely. The solution wasn't to stop everything. It was to rebalance. After recovering, Harold made some simple but powerful changes. He reduced his calcium to 500 milligrams from food sources. He added a small daily dose of vitamin K2 MK7, sourced from natto. He included magnesium glycinate in his nighttime routine. He started walking every morning, stretching his calves. And in 6 months, his blood pressure normalized. His leg cramps vanished. And his doctors found no new signs of calcification in his arteries. This isn't a miracle. It's biology. Your body knows how to heal when you give it the right tools. In the right way. So let's talk about foods that naturally support circulation and prevent clotting, especially for seniors. Beets, rich in nitrates. They help dilate blood vessels and improve flow. Garlic, a natural anticoagulant, thins blood safely when eaten daily. Turmeric contains curcumin, which reduces inflammation and supports vascular health. Leafy greens, like kale and spinach, packed with magnesium and small amounts of natural vitamin K. Natto. Fermented soybeans high in K2, nature's answer to vascular calcification. Fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, all full of omega-3 south that reduce clotting risk. Dark chocolate, in moderation, improves endothelial function and boosts circulation. Berries, antioxidants that support blood vessel integrity and reduce oxidative stress. And don't forget hydration. Dehydrated blood is thicker blood, and that means higher risk of clotting. Start by adding these to your daily meals, and gradually shift your reliance away from high-dose isolated pills. But what if you do need supplements? Maybe your bone density is low. Maybe your labs showed a deficiency. Here's your new rule. No more guessing. No more megadoses. No more one-size-fits-all. Use low, targeted doses. Always take calcium with food, not alone. Pair vitamin D with healthy fats to improve absorption. Use D3, not D2. And if you take calcium or D, always add K2 and magnesium to the mix. Without them, you're rolling the dice. Now let's take this one step deeper, because we're not just talking about avoiding disease. We're talking about thriving in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. Keeping your independence. Walking without pain. Traveling. Playing with your grandkids. Dancing with your spouse. These aren't luxuries. They are your birthright, and they start with protecting your blood flow. Remember this? Your circulation is your lifeline. Every nutrient, every breath of oxygen, every immune cell rides on your blood. If your blood is sluggish, thick, or blocked, nothing else works. That's why clots are so deadly. They don't just kill, they starve your organs, piece by piece. But the good news? You can make a difference today. You don't need to be a doctor. You don't need to memorize medical journals. You just need to ask the right questions. Am I supporting my blood vessels or straining them? Am I blindly following supplement trends or tailoring my health plan to my real needs? Am I treating my body like a system, not a set of isolated parts? Because that's what you are, a system. And every action you take sends a ripple through that system. So here's what I want you to do. Tonight. Go to your medicine cabinet. Look at every supplement you're taking. Flip the bottle over. Read the label. Ask yourself, do I know why I'm taking this? Is it balanced with the other nutrients I need? Have I spoken to my doctor about it recently? If the answer is no, don't panic. Just start the conversation. Bring your list to your next appointment. Look for a qualified integrative or geriatric specialist who understands the complex dance of nutrients in aging bodies. And if you want help, you're not alone. That's what we're here for. At Senior Health Today. We believe in empowering you with the truth, not just to scare you, but to protect you, to help you make smarter, safer, more effective choices that preserve your mobility, independence, and dignity. So if this message resonated with you, if you felt even one aha moment, please do two things. 1. Leave a 1 in the comments. If you've ever taken calcium or vitamin D without realizing the risks, or a 0 if you already knew about the calcium-clot connection. Your comment could spark awareness for someone else scrolling in silence. 2. Hit the like button and subscribe to Senior Health Today, because every week we dive deep into the hidden truths about aging well without fear, without fluff, and always backed by real science. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being informed, being aware, being proactive. You deserve to grow older with strength, clarity, and confidence. And it starts by protecting what flows through you, your blood, your life. This is Senior Health Today, and we're just getting started.